What is up? What is up? Welcome to the American Canadian School of Medicine webinar. We are so excited to have you guys here. My name is Todd Hartley. I'm going to be your host today. We're going to cover a lot of territory. But first, what we want to do is find out where in this beautiful planet you are coming from in the chat, if you wouldn't mind. In the chat right now, tell us where you are located so we can connect with you. And many of us are from all over from the US. Like I'm in Arizona right now. And one of the cool things is that this incredible school, we got people, Sarah's in South Dakota and Maria's in Chicago. We've got somebody from Houston. Dr. Arvin Bagarpour is in Houston and Dr. Stanley's in Dominica. Like there are people all over the world right now that are watching. We're just so honored and excited to be able to pour into you and talk to you about your future. And Jane is in Venice, Florida. And well, how cool is that? The reach that we can now have using the power of the internet and also using webinars. And we have somebody from Virginia. Super cool. All right. So let's get in. And for those of you that are just checking in, we would love to hear from the rest of you of where you are, but let's talk about discovering ACSOM. The American Canadian School of Medicine is a fully accredited nonprofit university located in the beautiful Caribbean island of Dominica, created by physicians for future physicians looking to practice medicine within the US and in Canada. And oh my God, how close to the water. What a beautiful sight that is. A little bit about me, and then I'm going to introduce you to key people at the American Canadian School of Medicine that are going to pour into you and talk to you about the university and also what your experience could be like. But a little bit about me. My name is Todd Hartley. I am a special advisor to the White House chairman of the President's Cancer Panel, have been for the last 2 administrations. And I'm sure like you feel about your future in medicine, I am honored to serve and guide and to help physicians and patients all over the world. I'm also on the American Society of Breast Surgeons Foundation's board, and I'm one of Tony Robbins's business mastery faculty speakers. I'm a featured speaker. I speak all over the world at his events in incredible environments like this, like a Metallica concert is what it feels like. But the cool thing is probably a lot like you feel about wanting to serve in the medical field and serve patients so they can live healthier lives. I get to help people all the time and serve them. And the coolest feeling in the world is being able to help people and impact lives. And I'm sure you get inspired by that also. Speaking about what inspires me, look at this campus right there on the water. And we want to spend time talking with you about finding what the future looks like for you and funding your future and financial aid and the tuition for ACSOM students. We're going to do that in this hour. And in the chat, if you wouldn't mind, tell me what it is about medicine and the opportunity to serve others that inspires you. And while you're doing that, I'll tell you more about the American Canadian School of Medicine. And today we're going to give you an overview, and we're also going to discuss our mission. We're going to discuss the financial aid and tuition options, and you're going to understand it and leave here with incredible clarity. We're going to give you an overview. I'm doing that right now. This is the overview. And first, before we get started and I introduce you to the faculty, I want to be the first to welcome you, future doctors, into this live event where we're going to answer your questions. We're going to paint the picture of what your future could look like in Dominica and coming out there and going to medical school. But first, I want to introduce you to the president of ACSOM, Carrie James.
Thank you, Todd. Nice to meet you.
Good to see you.
Yep. And I'm very excited to be here today and talk to you about our mission, our vision, and financial. Get in and how you pay for this amazing experience. We are a nonprofit university. We work in concert with the government of Dominica, and our mission is to improve healthcare here in Dominica. So it's beyond medicine and beyond your MD. We have a mission as a university that you're part of, and it's a very special one. 70% of those that take the MCAT each year, at least, have what it takes to make it through medical school. The American Association of Medical Colleges states this. So there's about 90,000 MCAT or med school hopefuls that take the MCAT each year, or 90,000 tests written. About 80,000 individuals take the MCAT. Some take it twice, and at least 60,000 of those have what it takes to make their way through medical school and successfully graduate. The reality is only about half of those are ever going to get a chance to go to medical school in the United States or Canada. And there's simply too many qualified students for the number of seats we have. Even with all the new medical schools that opened, we just don't have the seats to support that here in North America. What's important is that you have options. You don't have to give up on your dream. When you look at our mission and our vision, it's we have a unique approach to medical school. It's small group based. We have one physician that will work with a team of up to 10 students. Some of our learning teams actually only have 4 students. There's a learning team with 5 students, but we're never going to exceed 10 students per practicing physician. So small class size, it's early clinical exposure, and it's not just the physicians we have on campus. We have 15 physicians on campus. Actually, we've had our first physicians licensed locally there in Dominica. So this is an international group of experts. We have MD, PhDs, physicians of many different specialties, which is very important from a mentorship background, not just teaching class or facilitating our small group education. And we've also had over 30 physicians come down from the US and Canada this year for at least a week, sometimes several. These are leading physicians from Yale, Wisconsin, Penn State, MD Anderson, you name it. It's kind of a really just an amazing group of medical dignitaries that come down, and they participate in our curriculum design. They walk our students through the patient exam skills. It's not just them sitting in on our small groups. So really just an amazing outlay of in terms of our education, the resources we present our students with. Setting the standard, we've always had a commitment to accreditation. We've refused to ever work as a non-accredited school. So we actually had full 5-year accreditation in place before we even sat our first class. So right now, today, without question, our students are able to take the United States medical licensing exams, the Canadian exams. They can apply to NRMP or the U.S. residency match program. They can apply through the Canadian pathway, through CARMS for residency. So we refuse to ever operate as anything other than a fully fledged school with all those rights and privileges. We have a number of success stories from our students. This is Vincent Harvey from our charter class. He actually fully expected the quality of the education that he's receiving. What he was pleasantly surprised with was just the vibrant community that he feels a part of, whether it's anything from the food to the cultural events. Vincent actually started a number of intramural activities with some of the local towns, where now they come to campus for different athletic events, basketball, and so on. And I think that he could not be more pleased. He expected the academics, but I think the rich cultural experience has been great for Vincent. Has made a lot of friends and helped us integrate with the community. So your education starts here today, all right? And I guess my question to you would be, what's holding you back, right? So we can get you a decision within about 10 days of applying. We're going to interview you. We're going to want to look at your transcripts, and you can send in your student copies. We'll get the officials later on after an admissions decision. But you can start this today. We have actually provided 100% of our students with financial aid to date. That means either a scholarship, a grant, loans, all of the above, all three. And but I can't tell you what we can do for you until we find out. Can we have you admitted by our faculty? And if so, what's the best financial aid package that we can put in front of you. Remember, we're nonprofit. We're going to be here to make sure that you can get through medical school. We're not here to charge the most that we can, or have. We certainly don't want you graduating with the maximum amount of debt. We want to minimize that. And we've got a great financial aid counselor you'll meet later in today's session, Jane Sutter. And I want you to be able to sit down one-on-one with Jane and find your path forward. Some of our faculty and leadership, we have Dr. Loy Wiley, who also is a professor up at University of Western Ontario. She's leading many of our initiatives with the Indigenous people in Dominica, with the Kalinago. So we have a third semester community medicine module that we undertake, and our students run any number of health fairs, and they're really getting ensconced in the public health and the community medicine initiatives of Dominica, and even in very specific regions of Dominica. And so she also has a First Nations interest back in Canada as well. And so we're really excited to have leaders like Dr. Wiley bring her experience here to Dominica and help us support local communities as a medical school. We have Dr. Jeffrey Wong, who's been the Associate Dean for Education at Penn State, a number of other U.S. medical schools as well. He does all of our faculty training. We don't take a physician out of the hospital and say, all right, now go teach our students, right? It's at least a 6-month, if not 9-month training process, no matter where they've been teaching, no matter how many years they've been teaching in medical school. We make them go through the Johns Hopkins curriculum development course. We make them go through the Stanford faculty development course. And Jeff leads those initiatives with our faculty and really assesses them as their small group training progresses. We've taken care of all the information collection for you. Our lectures, you can see them online the night before. You come to class the next day to sit down with a physician and with your peers, and you're going to work through that knowledge, through those learning objectives, through those cases, and you're going to use that information in context. It's a very special type of, it's a flipped classroom, but it's very special in terms of what we're doing to make this clinical from day one. This is not come and sit in a classroom of 1,000 students. This is, you're sitting down with a peer group of 4 students, 5 students, never more than 10, and a practicing physician, not a physician in training or physician that maybe didn't get a chance to practice in their career. This is a physician that practices. This is a physician that's gone through local licensure and as well, in addition to their home country. So these are international experts that you sit down with, but Dr. Wong is really critical in making sure that they're certified by us as a medical school to teach our students. And then lastly here, I'd point out Dr. Stan White. He's been dean of different medical schools. He actually instituted tutoring programs in the Center for Teaching and Learning of one of the largest medical schools in the world. He's been campus dean for one of the largest medical schools in the world. He has a long history. Before all of that, he was a kidney specialist, kidney physiology specialist, and worked and trained in both in the United Kingdom and also at Yale in Connecticut as well. But really just an amazing team, amazing set of experiences here that we have to help lead our faculty and lead our students. Our timeline from classroom to residency, it's a very short 4 years. So our 4-year program has been developed for individuals who have a bachelor's degree, and it starts with small group case-based education on campus, all right? And there's 2 years of that. You basically start in August, you have a month break in the winter, you have a month break in June, and then it's right back into your sessions. What's interesting about these first 2 years is that we only use National Board of Medical Examiners questions during those first few years. I hear a lot of times from students, how do I know that I'm going to be prepared for step 1? Well, our students know this, our applicants are learning this, and that is we only test you with NBME questions. The NBME, of course, are the ones that write the United States medical licensing exams. And so every one of your module grades, each organ system that you're working through, each functional system that you're working through, whether it's foundations of medicine, attack and defense, whether it's respiratory, you name it, we're only testing you with NBME questions. You don't have to wonder, well, am I going to be prepared for this 2 years from now? You know, every single week when you get one of these exams, how you're tracking, all right? And you know that you're going to be prepared. Yes, we have review classes, and we're going to use TrueLearn, which is the same as many schools in the U.S. use for review. There's outside review groups as well that our students use, different question banks. Fine. But the real work of doing well in the licensing exams is the everyday grind of medical school, and it's having proper assessment the whole way through. Years 3, you're going to be back in the United States, or you're going to be in the United States for your clinical training, and year 4 as well. Right now, our clinical affiliates are in Los Angeles, California. We will be adding additional clinical affiliates as well in North America. So I'd just say stay tuned and watch our website, but we're very excited about the bridges that we're making to world-class clinical education back here in North America. You're going to be prepared for residency. We'll have spent 2 years in North America in teaching hospitals as part of your MD. And then it's time to graduate, and it's time to enter into either the NRMP or the CARMS process for Canada, or both. Certainly students can apply to residency in both nations. Some of our success stories. We have Fatima from Miami, Florida, background in biological sciences and interdisciplinary studies at Florida International. You know, one of the things that Fatima told me was that she said that this was the first time that she could remember not being on social media, not being on her phone for 10 or 12 hours a day. She said it's so intense and it's so interesting, and she's so wired in, if you would, to what's being taught in class, what she's reviewing with her peers, wanting to have the right answers, wanting to work with her peers through to a diagnosis in these case studies, that she's never studied like this before, had never learned so much every day like this before. And I think Fatima expected a good experience, but she's told me on a number of occasions she just didn't know quite how much she'd be learning every day. And it's an amazing sense of accomplishment. She's just completed her first year with flying colors. She has one more year of the preclinical small group work, and then it's off to clinicals just 12 months from now. Success stories include Patrick Forbes. I think Patrick is he's just a terrific student. What's interesting with Patrick, his family has a number of physicians in it. His dad is a prominent physician, faculty member at a medical school, and Patrick has always been a tremendous student, just was not getting an opportunity back home for medical school. And he's been a tremendous student with us. And I think he was really taking his time and studiously reviewing schools that would provide him with the quality clinical first opportunity that we do. He found us, and it's been a great partnership. We're so proud to have Patrick as one of our star students. And, he's, again, all the way through his first year and just has one more year of preclinical sciences left, and it's off to clinicals. A little bit about our Dominica experience. It's not just the book work. I'd like to tell people this is the most beautiful location that you may never get to visit. And I say that a little bit facetiously in that you're so busy Monday through Friday, it is hard to go off hiking or to go and spend appreciable time on the beach. But the reality is our students do a lot of that on Saturday and Sunday. They may be studying on the beach. You may take your books with you, but it is a beautiful location. Lots of natural hiking trails, waterfalls. Our students have really become ensconced in the Dominica experience. Some of this is professionally too. It's just it's having the health fairs. They're screening for hypertensive disorder, for diabetes, or taking part in any number of health fairs and community health activities, helping to provide care for the people of Dominica. But that pulls them out into the local community. People invite them over for dinner. They invite them to different events on the weekends. We do actually have a health club membership for all of our students with a 5-star resort. It's the Intercontinental Hotel. That's exactly 5 kilometers from campus. I know that because that's the finish line for our 5K, which is going to race, which is going to start at the front gate of campus and end there at the IHG in the new year. And but we have a campus van, a bus that takes you back and forth, and so our students are able to access a world-class gym. That is something that a lot of students do work in time for, even during the week. Another one of our success stories, Evan. Evan is from New Jersey originally. Really just again a great student, neuroscience major, and did a master's as well. Again, was always a good student, but was just not getting the opportunity that he deserved, frankly, in the United States, back home, and any of the locations that he lived. And so I think for him, what he was I think the happiest about is that he received this flipped classroom experience. He's very proud of that. When he does a tour on campus, he'll tell our visitors about that small group experience. But to him, that's very meaningful. Is that sitting down with a physician all day, every day, working through these problems. I think in Evan's group, there's actually eight students in his learning team. But again, we'll never go beyond that 10-to-1 ratio that Evan's quoting. We actually have 15 physicians full time on campus right now, and so we have really just a preponderance of talent there on campus that are ready to help you. So even outside of your small group, you can go and sit one-on-one with a physician for literally hours in a day. So why choose us for your medical education? Well, I think it's we're a nonprofit with a social mission. What does that really mean? It means we have focus. We're here for you, and we're here to make sure that this is your best experience, whether it's academically, getting through to your MD, but then also financially. We're not here to derive profit from our students, right? We're here to make sure they earn their MD. We're here to make sure that we're doing our part to improve healthcare in Dominica. Our social mission as a medical school is more than us individually. It's what we can do as an institution, a responsible institution. And this may sound typical for what you expect in the United States or Canada from your medical schools. It should be. But sadly, it's frankly not what you often find internationally. You find a lot of for-profit schools. Finding one with a social mission may be rare. But I think our heart's in the right place, and more importantly, our actions. Now, this is just how we're organized. We're led by an independent board of trustees. I encourage you to go to our website and review the group. They're very impressive in terms of our governance. So again, I'd encourage you your future starts here today. Your MD starts here today. You should apply to our university. I want you to get in, right? It's up to our faculty. They're the ones that teach you. They're the ones that sit on the admissions committee. But let's find out right away. Let's not guess. If they're going to recommend our preparatory program, we have a 1-semester prep program for students. It's actually a great prep program. If an applicant doesn't have an MCAT, they can actually go through the prep program and qualify for school that way. Our prep program are our 2 hardest modules. It's Foundations of Medicine and it's Attack and Defense. And it's fully clinical, and it's really a preview into the first semester of medical school. And if you're able to excel in that first semester, we know you're going to excel in our in the prep program. We know you're going to excel in our first semester curriculum. It's going to give you a great background, and you can go into medical school with confidence. So, but I can't tell you what the decision is going to be from our admissions committee until you apply. If you apply in about 10 days, we'll know, have you been admitted, have you been denied, or have you been offered this kind of third path of going through the 1-semester prep. All right. And once we get an admissions decision for you, we're going to be able to make sure we get the right financial aid package for you. So on to financial aid and tuition. I'll just say that our average, and you'll see this in the coming slides, our average, or I shouldn't say our average, our total cost you'll get into as well with Jane, but our tuition is $50,000 a year during years 1 and 2. It's $57,000 a year during years 3 and 4. So $214,000 in total. Now, this is before scholarships. This is before grants. All right. So it can actually be a good bit lower than that. The typical in-state tuition in the United States now, or the average, is $236,000 for the length of medical school. For private schools in the U.S., it's pushing $300,000. If you look in the Caribbean at some of the larger for-profit schools, it can be well over $300,000. So again, our how we see ourselves and how we're operating as a medical school, is squarely nonprofit, right? We're more in line with the U.S. in-state tuition rather than a private or one of the very expensive for-profit schools. And looking at those tuition rates, we'll just pull those right up there. And again, we're so focused on this. We're at least 20% lower in tuition compared to many of the other Caribbean schools. Again, there's Caribbean schools with a tuition list price of well over $300,000. We're at $214,000. Again, $50,000 per year for years 1 and 2, and $57,000 for years 3 and 4. 100% of our students so far have received financial aid. So, there's some urgency to that. I mean, we are generous and we work very closely with our students, but I wouldn't, you don't leave those financial aid questions of, how much are we able to help an individual student with? You don't leave those for next year or for a few months from now. You figure that out right now, in the next 10 days, in the next 2 weeks. Let's get you an answer and see what we can do there. For many of these schools, it's public record for those that take part in Title IV programs. The median indebtedness of some of these schools, this is when you leave school, is over $400,000 for some, pushing $400,000 for others. And this is before you have consolidation. This is before you're going through residency and periods of forbearance. It's very easy, if that's where you're starting off, exiting medical school, to have $500,000 or $600,000 in debt awaiting you after residency that you have to pay back. And the best way to reduce that number is to not charge as much in the first place. But again, we're, as a nonprofit school, we're able to drive to that lower figure, and that's why we're able to help our students out from the get-go. The best part of financial aid, the fact that we charge less than the typical in-state tuition in the U.S. to start with. But beyond that is what this group here in financial aid is doing to help every one of our students. So let's meet our financial aid office, and we're going to who you're going to hear from is Jane Sutter, who is one of the experts in financial aid for medical students. Jane has worked with innumerable medical schools and even nursing schools as well in the Caribbean, as far as Europe, but usually for U.S. students, Canadian students. But she is an expert in helping students navigate their way through the different types of loans out there. Hi, Jane. How are you? I'm going to hand it over to you here to take us through the financial aid slides. I think you might be on mute, so you'll want to unmute your computer here and say hello to our audience.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here, everyone. Yes, I was on mute, but thank you, Carrie. I have been in financial aid since for about 38 years, helping medical students that are going outside the United States. And it's a passion of my life. And I love working with ACSOM because it's very different, and it's what I always thought a financial aid office should be. And it's just a real privilege to have been given the opportunity to help you. Experience tells me students need help with. And I believe what our role here is to help you develop a viable financial plan. What do I mean by a viable financial plan? Well, I mean is totally understanding how much the costs are for associated with attending medical school, and then really how you're going to find the money to pay for it. You're not going to be doing work. You're not going to have a paycheck coming in. So you need to plan. And the goal of our office is that we want you to have this plan in place before you start school. I mean, we want you to know that it's a viable plan. This way, nobody has to spend their weekends worrying about where they're going to pay, how they're going to pay. The bill is coming in. They're going to be able to go hiking. So what I do is I work with everybody that's been accepted and deposited, but I also am more than happy to work with applicants and even before applicants. You can always get in contact with me, and we can sit down and we can talk with you and your family about some very hard decisions to make. How am I going to pay for this? Is my family going to contribute anything? How much scholarship money is available to me? And then what loans are available to me? So I don't know if we have another slide. But okay. We have tremendous amount of financial, we have a lot of financial aid and scholarships and loan programs. And you'll find that you'll get academic scholarships that is awarded by the admissions committee, but there's also room for other scholarships for financial need and also for those with community service background who want to help with the nonprofit mission that we have. And I believe that it will become as important to you as it is to all of us. Again, our cost of attendance is really divided up into semesters. And so if you've ever been to other schools, I'm sure you're familiar with the same cost of attendance. It will give you how much tuition is. It will give you how much you need for housing, how much you need for food, how much you need for miscellaneous expenses. And then it comes with the total per semester, and we figure out a way to take the admission scholarship that you will get and add to it. And if you can't add to it with the community service scholarships or something like that, then we have an ACSOM loan program that's sponsored by the school. And we have the Canadian students are eligible to borrow from their banks, right? And they have, we're working with the provincial governments in Canada too. I don't know if anybody is on this chat that is from Canada, but the Canadian students are able to fund themselves as well as the American students. We can put together a package for you based on your individual needs, and I can help you to decide what those needs are. You may look at the cost of attendance and say, gee, I don't need that much money for food. And we'll talk about, well, what kind of diet do you have? Where do you think you're going to get your food from? What are you going to buy? And we can reduce that cost of attendance. And when it's necessary, we can, by professional judgment, we can increase it. If you come from, this cost of attendance, what I'm trying to say is the cost of attendance is not fixed. It's an idea of how much a student needs, but we're going to individualize that for you so that you aren't going to be borrowing more than you have to borrow. And you're also not going to be borrowing less than you have to borrow, because starving students don't get A's. They just don't. Okay, so my job and my role is to make sure that financially you're stable and you are okay. And no one's, telling you to go to the opera. We're just telling you that you want to make sure that you eat and that you have everything that you need to get off the island once a semester, to be able to go home, to be able to have a phone, be able to have all the things that you need in order to really be able to study. That's my goal, is to make it all done and wrapped up before the hard work starts. I think that counseling is probably the centerpiece of our financial aid at ACSOM. From the very beginning, I'm going to work with you to understand how much it's going to cost. Then we're going to work on this budgeting and debt management strategies. For instance, if you buy a pizza for $15 and you're going to pay it back over 30 years, it's going to cost $45. So we try to make sure that you're aware every single day of really what you're doing at that point in time, what you need to spend and what you don't need to spend. So that's basically called budgeting and debt management strategies. Our scholarship offerings are very generous. They're really great scholarships. The admissions committee does a fantastic job. And I'll work with you to help you apply for loans. They're all going to be private loans, but they're going to work for you, and they're going to be able to fund you up to the cost of attendance. So you're not going to have to worry if your family can't support you. But if your family can help you or you have any resources, then I'm going to show you the way to do that so that you don't end up with a $400,000 debt when you get to be a resident. These are credit-based loans, and so I'm pretty good at credit counseling, and I don't think that any of you should be scared if you don't think your credit's going to make it. We can talk about it, we can repair it, we can do all kinds of things to make sure that you're eligible for loans. We have a 3-tier thing of fair, good, and excellent credit. And all the interest rates that we have are somewhere between 8.5% and 9%. So it's very similar, very similar, I'd say, to the Grad Plus loan and to the federal loan in the United States. So we have, I think we went back to that other slide, but the point is that the credit counseling and all that stuff is going to be done before. So please feel free to call me as early as tonight. It doesn't matter. You can reach me in the financial aid ASCOM office. We have a cost of attendance that is going to be minimized for you. We're going to have scholarships that are going to fund it. We're going to have loans that are going to fund it. And we're going to make sure that you don't have to worry on the weekends about where you're going to pay your electric bill. Our loan programs, I think that there's a slide with all the loan programs. Okay. Is there a list? Do we have a list of the scholarship and loan programs?
This is what I have.
Okay. Here we go. So as you can see on the slide, there's all kinds of scholarships up to like 50% for academics. There's all kinds of merit scholarships. If you're particularly interested in community service, if you have a degree in something that could help the island, then that will really help us to get what we call a founding scholarship for community service. That's our mission. That's who we're trying to attract. And we want to give you the experiences that you'll need to be that kind of physician.
For those of you that are interested in applying, your future starts right here. We're going to drop a link into the comment section for anybody that would like to apply. And you can also grab your phone, scan the QR code, and apply right now. And also there's a phone number that was placed right there under Scott Rinker's name, and you can reach out and make sure that you get your questions answered. But we are going to open it up to the team, and we're going to answer questions right now. Don't hesitate in the chat. If you could, please, let's have Carrie and Jane back up. And in the chat, please put your questions there, and we will go through it systematically. We also have Dr. White here and Dr. Baggerpour, who's going to be here to answer questions. And so don't hesitate. This is your golden moment. Your questions could be about anything having to do with the American Canadian School of Medicine and also about financial aid. Carrie, I'm going to hand it over to you. And I'm sure there's some questions that come up all the time that prospective students are interested in learning about. What are some of the most common questions that you guys hear that comes up, and what are the science pre-qualifiers that you need in order to attend?
Thanks. Well, they're on our website. If Elliot, if you want to put those up in the chat for everybody, the direct link to the prerequisites, but it's typical prerequisites. You need a background in biology, chemistry. You have to have your MCAT if you want to come straight into the medical school versus going through the prep program. But it's your typical prerequisites for medicine, for pre-medicine. I should note that our faculty do a lot of substitutions as well. We often have students that applied that already had credit for freshman level chemistry and freshman level biology, and they only have advanced courses. Of course, those substitute. We're not a place that makes you take a year of organic, right? We tend to be a bit shorter on those prerequisites or at the lower end, congruent with a lot of the U.S. med schools now. I think we're seeing a lot of non-science majors come to medical school, so you need to have some background, but you needn't be a science major or biomedical sciences major to be applying to us. Again, it's a reasonable faculty in terms of the substitutions they do, and we also have a prep program as well that our faculty can lean on. If they think that you could have had a better background in the sciences rather than sending you back to take another, freshman level science course in a college somewhere, or, go enroll in a community college. You got a prerequisite complete. They can instead put you into the prep program instead and say, you know what, if you with the background you're going to get from that prep program, you're going to know more than enough as a background to make it through medical school.
Awesome. I love it. Put your questions in the comment section. We'd be happy to get them answered. One question that just came in is a residence guaranteed? Let's start with that. We'll go one question at a time. There are 3 in this group. Let's unpack them together. Who would like to answer that?
Dr. Bagapur, do you want to take us through our
Sure.
residency promise?
And I think at the end, I'll be able to introduce myself a little bit more, as I'm the founder. I went to a Caribbean medical school, graduated from one, and then ultimately graduated from Cleveland Clinic. So I'm a person that stepped in the pathway that you all have been in and walked down that shoes. So with that being said, if you go to our website, we do have, I want to make sure that your question is talking about medical residencies and not like a residency in the United States or Canada as like a immigration resident. So there is a residency guarantee. You can go to the website. It's got terms and conditions. Essentially, we don't think that anybody's going to have to utilize that. But last thing I ever want to see is that someone goes all the way through medical school, passes their USMLEs or Canadian board exams, does not get a residency. And you've spent quite a bit of money, time, and work to get there. Again, I'm very confident that if you go through our program in the way that we have it designed and the large amount of associate program directors and program directors that work with our program, that you will achieve a residency match. But if you don't, we stick behind what we say, and we think that you will get a very good quality education with us, and we know that. And as such, if you don't achieve a residency, meaning internal medicine, family medicine, so on and so forth, looked on the terms and conditions, we will give you your tuition back. I don't think there's any other university in the United States, Canada, or the Caribbean or international that has that offer on the table. So one of the biggest risks that medical students will have going to the Caribbean is that you won't pass your boards, or you'll fail out, or something happens, and you're not moving in a direction that you need to go. So that's why we have 2 things here for you. One, we have the Prep for Success program. Those are for students that may need some additional coaching, mentoring, and studying before the first semester of medical school. It's a great option also if you have some lacks in your prerequisites, or if you haven't taken the MCATs yet. Likewise, that program offers an opportunity for students that are in the medical school that need some additional help, an opportunity to take a step back, remediate without negatively affecting you, and then move forward. So there's a lot of great things that come out of both pathways, and you can read more about the residency match guarantee online.
And let me add, so I've worked in international medical education for 20 years now, and actually how I came to know Dr. Bagapur, the founder, I actually knew him years ago when he was a student, but also knew him some years after that when he formed a company that was creating new residency programs in the United States, specifically in Connecticut and in Florida. And actually, his development company created the first internationally, or the first Canadian residency program outside of Canada. And the first graduates of that program actually ended up practicing back in the United States. So it has a tremendous background in residency development. And then our dean, Dr. Ahmadi, who's not on the call today, he's a physician that spent some decades at Yale, but for part of that time, he was a program director in internal medicine at Yale Griffin. And he also helped create new residency programs. So it's not just, creating them or administrating them, but it's even creating brand new ones, really looking at the senior leadership of the school. They're expert in residencies. And they know what it takes for the students to earn a residency at the end of medical school. They themselves have gone through U.S. residencies and fellowships. As Dr. Bagapur noted, he's an interventional radiologist, so he had to go through this process several times along the way to becoming a resident at Texas for radiology, and then a fellow at Cleveland Clinic for interventional and vascular radiology. So it is an expert group in this. I can tell you I hear this from students a lot. What's the number one thing that you can do to guarantee yourself a residency is you have to make sure that you pass your licensing exams on the first try. If you pass your licensing exams on the first try, you have a good clinical experience, your faculty members speak for you, you've really great dean's letter or MSP letter talking about your experience now during your last 2 years of medical school. There is a full expectation that you should be earning a residency your senior year. Now, our guarantee requires that you apply to residency through up to three different cycles. So your senior year, and then the next 2 years after that, you have to actually apply. You actually have to interview. You've got to submit a rank order list and fully go through the residency process. But in terms of the fine print, that's all it's really saying is you actually have to apply for residency, for that guarantee. But I think it shows the confidence and the belief that our administrators have, not just in the school, but certainly our students.
To give a little background there, not to belabor this point, I was a fellow in economics and healthcare policy for the American College of Radiology when Obamacare was being passed, and through that fellowship, I learned exceedingly a lot about creating residency programs. And so I created a nonprofit while I was a resident to build residency programs. And other Caribbean universities came to me, other governments, and people from all over came to me and the nonprofit to help them get a residency and achieve their further dreams. And because of that, we helped many schools and many people do that did not match in residency programs. So when it comes to the ultimate source of understanding how a residency program is created, run, and how you're accepted as an applicant, we have a very strong background in that. And both, I said this on the group chat, there's many of our faculty members, over 38 of them, that are from the United States and Canada, of which a great majority were either program directors or associate program directors or on selection committees for residency programs. So we will mentor you through the process. Once you've decided what you want to become, you'll receive a mentor during your clinical years. And those clinical mentors will help you with your applications, with your networking and those things. And doctors like me and other ones, my brother's a interventional radiologist. He is a program director, or was a program director up until last year at University of Texas. We'll be reaching out to those programs that you're interested in, calling them directly for you, speaking on your behalf and vouching for your ability to really help you get that job. Because a residency program placement is a job ultimately. So you have to have the qualifications to do well, but also you need to have them like you, and they need to know that you're going to be a good fit for their program. And that's where these mentorship comes crucial in making sure that your application fits the needs of where you want to go. And this is not a trivial point. If you look at the residency programs, placements of other Caribbean medical schools, you could see, and if you just go to the ECFMG, I would not just use what the schools use as advertising points, because they have ways of picking out what really is their true residency match rate. If you go directly to the Education Council for Foreign Medical Graduates, they publish IMG, International Medical Graduates statistics, and they'll tell you, there are some students at some of these large schools, there may be up to 30% of them that don't achieve a residency program. And when you go to a school with 1,000 students, that's not an insignificant number. In the US, you may have 1% not achieve a residency match, and that's maybe one student, and they're able to place them within their current healthcare system. The Caribbean schools generally don't have healthcare systems that they can place you in. So you're really working on your networking, your skill sets, your board scores, and how you do in university. So being taught by physicians on the first day and getting that exposure versus being taught by PhDs and people who have not worked in the hospital setting possibly makes a massive difference in the ability for you to achieve a residency. And having doctors like us backing you and helping you, as Todd said at the beginning, this university was created by doctors for doctors. And we would be greatly privileged to be able to guide you through that pathway and be your mentor as we go through down that pathway.
What about being a citizen? Do you have to be a citizen in order to get residency?
No, you don't have to be a citizen of the US, Canada, to get a residency placement. There are programs in the United States that will sponsor you and will help you navigate which one of those programs that exist. Not all programs will sponsor you with a student visa or an H-1B visa. And if you need help with that process, we can talk to you individually as that goes. With that said, we have international students beyond just US and Canada attending our university, being successful, and going through the process. And it's our job as a university to help you navigate that.
In our first year, we had students from the United States, Canada, Germany, Ghana, and also Dominica.
Wonderful. Thank you. If somebody's got questions about financial aid, but they want to do it in a private way, what's the best way for them to have that conversation?
I think the best is always to have a one-on-one discussion with the expert, Jane. Jane loves to counsel students. She does it all day, every day. Make an appointment with Jane. She'll text you right back and make sure that you guys can talk the same day that you reach out.
Yeah, Lisa, I see that you posted a question regarding that, more about financial aid on the prep program. That's a one-to-one basis discussion. Jane will have all those discussions with you and able to guide you through and what's best for you. If you don't have a talk with us and we don't see your full application, we don't know what scholarships to offer you and what financial aid packages to offer you. When you speak with Jane, she will have a ability to speak with you and things that you may have not put on your CV or submitted to us yet, meaning you worked at a hospital or you did some community service, you're involved in the arts, various pieces that help us put together a financial package, both for scholarship and financial aid to help you achieve your dreams here. And as a nonprofit, we don't want finances to get in the way of you being able to become a doctor. Our ultimate goal is for you to make an impact in the community, impact in Dominica, impact in the places where you do your clinical rotations, as well as ultimately an impact on the patients in the US and in Canada, or wherever you ultimately practice, and be an excellent physician and thrive at it. Because I can only treat maybe 10 to 12 patients a day, but if we can educate as many of you as possible to become physicians, you'll go on and make massive differences in this world. And that's really where the passion is and why this university was started. So you don't have to walk a new journey that you may not be familiar with. I am a graduate of the Caribbean medical school system. I went to Ross University School of Medicine. I saw the goods and the bads. I've seen that throughout different universities. My colleagues and peers have gone to them. I've seen students graduate, students not graduate. I've seen students graduate and not get a residency. And the reason that this medical school was created by a physician for physicians is because we do not want you to go through that path alone. It can be scary at times, and we want to make sure that you are following the same right steps that have already been done before you. And I don't think that other physicians from the Caribbean or have graduated probably would, I can say with confidence that there are no other founders of universities of a physician that graduated from the Caribbean and ultimately ended up at one of the best fellowships in the country with a thriving practice and ability to be involved in so many things. And I really encourage you to make an appointment with Jane. If you want to talk about finances is very personal. But if you also want to make an appointment with me and talk to me individually about your journey and what you're thinking and what you've gone through, whether you're a transfer student or you're a current student or you've been out of school for a little bit or you're a senior or if you're a junior, all those situations are unique. And I can relate on those paths because I didn't finish my fellowship not that long ago, maybe 5 years ago. And throughout that process, I had stayed involved with other graduates that graduated from my university and other universities. And this program was created so you have the best educational pathway forward that's similar to a US and Canadian school, taught by physicians for physicians in small classroom-based settings.
You bring up an interesting point, Arvin. We actually do have a program for students that are transferring, that are starting over with us in the first semester. There's a lot of great students that were promised a lot of things that they didn't get, right? And they went to another medical school that really just not the quality, not what they felt they were promised. And to transfer to us, you can do it one of two ways. If you've already passed your USMLE, you can go into third year. If our faculty appoint you there, and you can go into clinicals. The other way is to start in first semester. And one thing that I've heard from a lot of potential students, transfer students who call us, They say, well, I've gone to this other school. I've been there for a year. Yeah, I'm passing, but this is not at all what I expected. I'm in a class of 1,000 people. I'm being charged more than it costs to go to a US school when I should be getting charged far less because I'm just not getting the same quality. They hear about us. They talk to us and say, well, I'd love to transfer to your school, but I just can't afford it. I've already spent a year's tuition somewhere else. We have the ability to give you credit for that tuition. Even if we can't give you credit for the classes, you haven't gone halfway through medical school, you're going to redo your first year with us. We actually have the ability to give you credit for the tuition at least, and just not charge you tuition for the first year. Again, we're a nonprofit. We have a social mission. It's to improve the healthcare of a nation. And it's to make great physicians. All right. If you've made a mistake, don't feel that's your lot in life and you just have to plow ahead, keep making the same mistake. You can restart with us. You talk to Jane, and you get that that grant from the university. Don't make a choice that impacts the rest of your life because you've gone for a year to the wrong place. You can restart here, and Jane's going to find a way to take care of you.
Wow. Talk about proximity is power. So you could talk to Jane. I just heard something I've never heard at any other medical school in the world, that the founder said, reach out to me. I'm happy to talk with you. Proximity is power. Relationships network. Open the doors. What a valuable offer that was. And I hope those of you who are listening realize the difference that you've got right here with the American Canadian School of Medicine. One question is, can international students get a full scholarship?
They certainly could, and we do have the ability to offer loans as well. Again, it's every student's individual, and so I can't promise a hypothetical, but we can look at your real transcript and your real application, and you can have a real discussion with Jane. And I can tell you, Jane is always finding ways to give students additional support. I think our applicants tend to be too modest, even though they may just email us their student copy of their MCAS or US application to apply, or they spend 10 minutes online filling out our own proprietary application. It doesn't matter how detailed it is. They leave out things about themselves. Jane's going to take the time, learn about you and your journey, and we're going to see if you qualify for different scholarships that we have that have nothing to do with citizenship or where you're a resident, but just have to do with who you are, the volunteer work that you've done, some of the other attributes that Dr. Bagapur mentioned as well.
Yeah, one thing to keep in mind that we have merit and needs-based scholarship and financial aid. Again, I'll just repeat, no student should be left behind. If you have what it takes to become a physician, we'll make a way forward for you to become a physician. I think that's the most clear answer that everybody could have. Finance should not be a barrier here.
Future Dr. Daryl asks, what about UK residencies?
Certainly our team is going to support you there in the applications that you need to make. That would normally be handled by the dean's office. Stan, would you want to take us through any of the special residency types that our students, our graduates, would be applying to, and certainly in this case, what your advice would be for somebody applying to the UK?
Sure, Kerry. I think that the UK residency situation is obviously slightly different to the US, and we would probably advise every individual in different ways. There are a certain number of requirements that students coming from outside the UK have to meet in order to do rotations of any sort in the UK. Depends a little bit on hospital by hospital as well. So my advice to anybody interested in a UK residency is to reach out to the Dean's office, give a little bit more information, and we can give sufficient advice to guide you there.
Future Dr. Taha Adams says, what is an international student from a country like Sudan who is a refugee in another country and wants to continue his studies? Can you help?
Well, I think that's a very, that's certainly a very specific question. So I think there's a lot of things there. We need to see in terms of the background from university. So we want to take a look at the transcripts and make sure that the preparation would be appropriate for our school. And sometimes it's a question for the admissions committee. Again, if you have the prerequisites, great. Then you're just applying. Typically, as is typical, maybe that the admissions committee has to look at different prerequisites depending on the background there. From people coming from outside of North America, often, their systems in other nations is really a 6-year medical degree, and people are going straight out of high school. So I think that's going to be one of the immediate questions on the admissions end is, do you have a bachelor's degree or equivalent, right? And so there are going to be questions there. In terms of the financial aid end, Jane's going to have any number of questions in terms of where you're currently resident, your own resources, your background in terms of what different scholarships you'd qualify for. So I don't think it'd be enough just to say, a country by country type discussion. Everybody's an individual, and we just have to look at every individual's background.
Carrie, I will say that we feel for you, and we understand what's going on in your country. I saw in the group chat, and please reach out to us, and we'll work with you as much as we can to help facilitate the process of moving forward in medical education. This is not unique just to you. We've dealt with students from other parts of the world, and if we can't guide you through our university, we could hope to guide you in another path with somebody else or some other way that does work for you. So please reach out to us.
This is an incredible opportunity. Inside of the comments, please know that the founder of the university put his email and his cell phone. Text me anytime. He said, I've never heard of this before at a medical school. Please seize the opportunity. It's actually on the screen. Make sure you write it down and scan the QR code that's up there. The team's going to put in the chat the link. For those of you that haven't clicked on the link yet to enroll, please know we want to serve you because we know that you're going to impact patients all over the world, and we want to get you started on that journey in the best way possible while being in the most beautiful place on earth. And we look forward to impacting your life. On behalf of the team at the American Canadian School of Medicine, we look forward to not only receiving your application, but meeting you in person and having you here on campus. Good luck, everybody. We wish you the best of luck. And even more, we wish you the opportunity to care for a lot of patients and help serve a lot of people down the road. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.